what do you think that you've learned in, say, the 6 years since you've started Quillette about publishing a high volume of articles that you wish you had known when you started?
That's an interesting question. There hasn't been a whole lot that's changed since we
Hmm.
started. Um, we I've learned from Jamie, my colleague, that avoiding polemic articles, avoiding articles that are overly emotional and are trying to get an audience angry or get a hot response. Avoiding those type of articles is actually a good thing long term because you develop a more moderate, reasonable audience, and writers respect that, and you just develop this sort of civilized culture. And my colleague Jamie has done a lot to foster this sort of moderation that we've become known for.
Hmm. I really like that. Why do you think that that seems like such a challenging thing for the media industry to do, to put it lightly?
Well, obviously, a lot of media has been chasing revenue through the advertising model, and so to do that, one, it's really easy to publish material that gets a hot response from readers, makes them angry or disgusted or enraged, and material like that can get a lot of page views very quickly, but it upsets people, makes people angry, and I think it's damaging to a brand over the long term. So the short-term strategy of chasing clicks and page views is ultimately damaging to the trust that readers have in a brand. And so with the help of my colleagues, we have sort of adopted a strategy where we don't chase clicks, we don't chase that short-term revenue or that even that short-term notoriety, and we publish reasonable, moderate material that is analytical, that appeals to people who have cooler heads rather than hot heads. And a lot of the content we publish is also evergreen. So we get a lot of traffic from older articles that we've published a couple of years ago. It's still relevant today. So although we don't chase clicks in the short term, we still get a high volume of traffic because so much of the material we publish is not just relevant to this week, it's relevant to the last 5 years or the last 10 years and so on. So we've just adopted a different strategy that is more long-term focused, I think.
Yeah, that actually, thank you for that, because it made preparing for this podcast really fun. Because I could just go and I could scroll to your first articles and I read all those, the early stuff on feminism. And then I was going through 2016, 2017, and there was another thing that you did where you don't, compared to other publications, really focus on American politics, and you've
Yeah,
much more focused on these meta points,
yeah,
which I really liked. And I also like what you said there. I've never quite thought of this idea of like the time horizon of clicks. People think of chasing clicks as like 48 hours, 72 hours, but really there's a kind of click chasing that you could do over a 10-year period that leads you to a very different calculus in terms of the articles that you publish.
that's right. That's exactly right. And publishing evergreen content, which I mean it's a vague term, but for example, we've published articles on famous writers, and there's always going to be fans of Flannery O'Connor or J.D. Salinger who are Googling their favorite writer, and you'll always find these really interesting essays about these historical figures. And that kind of writing doesn't go out of fashion. It's always interesting to the reader. And we have a lot of essays that are standalone essays that we think will stand the test of time. You could read them 10 years from now, and they'll still bring something to you. And so that kind of material, although it might not go viral in the moment, over a long time period, can generate a lot of traffic and attract a lot of readers, and yeah, it's quite valuable to invest in.